Hold on a minute. How did we end up in this situation? Well, this is 9/11, one of the worst tragedies to ever happen to America. There are many reasons why this is the case. After a while of research that me and my friend Corey have done, we have come to one main conclusion. Every single issue that made 9/11 so terrible could all be traced back to communication. While you may doubt this claim at first, after this video, you will definitely be convinced on this claim. However, before we dive into this, we need a little more background on the famed Twin Towers. So now, I will let my aforementioned friend Corey take over for me.
Thank you, Zach. So, back in 1959, a businessman by the name of John D. Rockefeller came up with this idea for a place where world economies can meet and barter, or a World Trade Center. This place would later become the Twin Towers. To build the two metal monstrosities, there was a lot of digging necessary. In fact, to create just the base needed for the Twin Towers, they had to make a river to wash out the dirt that was piling up. These bases were huge pits. They must be. The Twin Towers were the largest skyscrapers ever built in New York at the time. Now, the Twin Towers were not used by just one company, but many at once. As they were huge buildings, thousands of workers from many different companies did business there. It's had so many people working there that there was even a preschool for the kids of the people working there. But 9/11 was not the first attempt on the Twin Towers. On February 26, 1993, the Northern Tower parking garage was attacked by a car bomb. It sadly ended the lives of 6 people. There was a memorial fountain outside the Twin Towers with the names of the deceased. Of course, today there are 2 fountains where they once stood, marking the names of the 2,000 people that died in the tragedy that was 9/11.
But that's not the topic we came here to talk about. We are here to talk about 9/11, along with the mishaps and successes of communication, which, spoilers, there is much of the former. Let's start off with the bad. First, during the time of 9/11, security was much less tight. Security was not trained as well as they are today, allowing the bombers to sneak by fairly easily. Along with that, firefighters and policemen had different radio signals, causing citizens to get mixed signals from both sides. This just added on to the fear and confusion because citizens didn't know who to listen to. The lack of communication between both sides also made it so neither side really knew what the other was doing. And finally, to add a cherry on top to the mess, they couldn't decide whether people should stay put or evacuate. In the end, they decided that staying put would be the safest. It was a very rushed decision, and the first responders couldn't really think about considering there were buildings exploding. The decision ended up being the worst of the 2 options because the buildings both collapsed, instantly killing everyone near or in the buildings. This was certainly the worst American tragedy to date, and this all led to the 9/11 we remember. Though 9/11 was a tragedy, there are a few beneficial things to come out of 9/11. First of all, a beneficial thing to come out of 9/11 is the airport security that allowed these terrorists to enter the plane was made much stronger. This way, future attacks wouldn't be as easy for the terrorists to pull off correctly. Thanks to modern security, nothing can be successfully smuggled across the border. From guns to narcotics, nothing will get past modern security. Another thing that benefited us and came out of 9/11 was the fact the nation bonded over losing loved ones in 9/11. This fact allowed us to have patriotism never seen before. It was so high that everyone in our nation decided to make a holiday of 9/11, known as Patriots' Day. The aftershock of 9/11 left many scars. People still go to the fountains to mourn their lost ones. There is a tree that survived the September 11 terrorist attacks. The tree was found at Ground Zero. It was then placed in the care of the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation. After it was restored, it was placed back and resides currently outside of the memorial fountains. People who were trapped by the fires decided they would take the faster and painless death. By jumping from their offices, firefighters claim to have heard the bodies hitting the ground. Some have trauma, claiming that they will never forget the sound of bodies splatting against the pavement. Speaking of which, we have a firefighter here from the scene of 9/11.
On my hands and knees, I could hear the tower picking up momentum, and I'm braced for it and I'm ready to die. I'm Clarence Singleton, and I'm a 9/11 survivor. It's not easy being a firefighter. It's some grueling, tough work. I retired from the New York City Fire Department August 30th of 2000. On the morning of September 11, 2001, I heard that a plane struck the tower. I didn't think anything of it until I heard a second announcement.
There were many people in the building.
Oh, another one just hit. Something else just hit. A very large plane just flew directly over my building, and there's been another collision. Can you see it? I can see it on the shot.
I donned a fire department t-shirt, a pair of boots to go over to the scene. One of my sons called and he was begging me, "Daddy, don't go, you're retired." But I still had this pull. I just felt compelled to go. When I got to the scene, it was like a ghost town, and the ground was covered with debris. There was ladies' purses, shoes, clothing, you name it. It was on the ground, and there was this thick layer of dust. As I was going into the area, I met the police commissioner, fire commissioner, their little entourage. They were covered in dust, and they were leaving the scene. My inner voice told me, "Clarence, stay here and work with these guys." I stayed working with them. We were extinguishing fires around the perimeter of the building.
Well, this is the worst I've ever seen.
We were working right here. It doesn't seem as if the tower was that far away on September 11, I guess because it was so tall. We heard this loud bang like something let go, and we didn't look up. We stared at each other. We heard it again. Bang, really loud bang.
The other tower of the World Trade Center has just collapsed. You are looking at live pictures of the second twin tower at the World Trade Center collapsing.
We bolted, we ran, moving so fast. I was on the ground. I was skidding along because I knew I was in a collapse zone. I was on my hands and knees, and I could hear the tower picking up momentum as I get closer to the ground. And I'm braced for it, and I'm ready to die, and it was peaceful. I saw 3 or 4 EMS workers heading my way, covered with dust, and they put me in the ambulance, and I was feeling stupid, really, because I came to help, and now it took people out of service to help me. I was transported to St. Vincent's Hospital in Lower Manhattan. After the doctor snapped my arm back into place, left the hospital, and I went back down to the site.
Let's talk about the heroes of American Airlines Flight 11. These passengers were the bravest people alive, for these people retook the plane. These people, in my and my partner's eyes, are heroes in their own right. Who knows where that plane was headed? To the White House? The Capitol building? Who knows? They died how no one should, saving the lives of many people at the cost of their own. We're also going to tell you that not all deaths were at the Twin Towers. There is also a memorial outside of the Pentagon, where many people also died. It is sad because a field trip of children were on the plane that crashed into the Pentagon. This includes the fact that the plane that crashed in the field was probably headed for the White House, because the Pentagon is our military's base of operations, which means Al Qaeda was trying to put our military in a state of ineptitude. Now we're starting to get to the part most people hoped happened. The US's revenge. The leader of Al Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, ordered this attack to strike fear into the hearts of the Americans. What it did was put a feeling of vengeance and bloodlust in most Americans. This is why people wanted blood, so the American government decided to strike back. So they tracked down bin Laden and they sent SEAL Team 6 to kill him. And they succeeded, and now Osama bin Laden is no more. Like it was said previously, the communication during 9/11 gave a lot of the metaphorical flames of the problem to be given a second wind. The lack of communication gave fuel to these fires. I and my partner do honestly believe that 9/11's flames might have burned a lot less bright if we had superior communication during the crisis.